Sorry I'm late today. I have been reading and researching and doing other things, seeing my family, etc. today, so I've been very busy. Lots of stuff going on. However, the news is still absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So I'll show you some interviews, and Mark Mendicino is an absolute pro. This guy, watch this interview and just watch how he handles absolutely every question. He burns time. He spends a minute and a half at the end talking about nothing. He doesn't answer any question. There's nothing of substance said when he's opening his mouth other than to defer and deflect about what the NDP, Nathan Cullen and Lisa Raitt are talking about and accusing his party of. And this is a very, very interesting interview to watch. You should watch the whole thing. It's only 12 minutes long, 12 and maybe 12 and a half minutes long. Here's probably in my opinion, one of the most interesting aspects or interesting interactions, and I'll show you one more after this.
The same kind of responsibility. But Nathan, you're saying these are such terrible allegations. Why only go to the ethics commissioner? Because we both know the ethics commissioner does not have teeth.
Okay, I would want to challenge you on that a little bit, Mercedes.
Well, cannot put anyone in jail, cannot fine people for a significant amount, unlike, say, the RCMP.
What we're talking about here is the potential obstruction of justice. It brings a 10-year jail sentence, as Marco Mendicino would know, the crime is serious because it's influencing an office holder about a court case that's going on. All the dots are lining up and paint a picture, and everyone's looking at it and saying, my goodness, did the Prime Minister's office really try to put pressure on the Attorney General of Canada, supposed to be independent, and when she wouldn't concede to that pressure, she was fired. That letter that we talked about before, how clearly unhappy Jody Ruthven-Raybould was to be removed from justice, the first Indigenous woman Justice Minister in Canada's history. And Marco will talk about veterans, which is fine, but we all know that she was removed from that position, and we didn't know why, because the government's never told us why.
Was she punished?
Well, of course.
And I'll pause it there. Again, the link is in the description. You should watch it. I'm going to fast forward, and we're going to watch one more interaction. Hold on. Here, Nathan Cullen says, if you've got nothing to hide, let us have the hearings and have questions answered if you've got nothing to hide. So, interesting.
And if there's nothing to hide, if everything that happened between the Prime Minister's office and the former Attorney General, if everything was copacetic and they have proof to show that, then the Liberals should support our motion. They should have no problem with this. But if I watch question period and I just watch the non-answers that just verbatim, it doesn't matter what question we ask.
Well, I want to ask a very direct question to you, Marco, and
And I'll pause it here because Marco doesn't give an answer. But Nathan Cullen says it's the same thing in question period. Whenever we ask a question, we get boilerplate answers. We get the same tap dance. We get the same question or the same statements over and over and over again, and people are sick and tired of it. So it's an interesting interview. Please do watch it. Link is in the description. Here's Maxime Bernier weighing in on the SNC Lavalin scandal. He says, quote, 1, not only did Scheer meet with SNC Lavalin lobbyists last year, he also refuses to say if he would allow SNC Lavalin to avoid criminal trial through a DPA. DPA is something I'll tell you about in just a minute. Of course, as a pandering libcon, he refuses to take a stand because he's once again afraid of losing votes in Quebec. And this is a tweet in response to Laurie Goldstein, and I'll show you that, or Goldstein. I'll show you that in just a minute after we look at the second tweet in this thread. Number 2, I never met with SNC Lavalin lobbyists, and my position is clear. No one is above the law. No special deal for big corporate criminals. I will repeal this DPA clause adopted by the Liberals, and I will clean up the corruption in Ottawa. So that's the end of Mr. Bernier's tweet. Here's Laurie's tweet. He says, WTF? Does everyone in Ottawa think it's fine to meet with the head of a company during a criminal investigation of that company to discuss that investigation? Andrew Scheer met with SNC Lavalin chief to discuss criminal charges. And here's a Star article. Here's a Toronto Star article. And here we're going to look at it. Tory leader Andrew Scheer, and this was February 10th. It's reporting Tory leader Andrew Scheer met with SNC chief to discuss criminal charges. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer met with the head of SNC Lavalin to discuss the criminal charges facing the Quebec construction giant in May 2018. The opposition leader's office confirms. That was last summer, everyone, May of 2018. Scheer discussed a possible, quote, deferred prosecution agreement. That was the DRF or whatever DPA that was referenced earlier. With SNC CEO Neil Brewer, Neil Bruce on May 29th. SNC is pushing for a so-called DPA to avoid criminal charges related to fraud and corruption in its work in Libya between 2001 and 2011. This happened a decade ago. Like, this has gone on for a long time. Okay. Mr. Scheer met with representatives from SNC Lavalin and was briefed on the company's position with regards to deferred prosecution agreements, DPAs, wrote Brock Harrison, Scheer's communication director, in an email to the Star on Saturday. At the time, the Liberals have added a provision on DPAs in the 2018 budget documents. The meeting was one of several SNC Lavalin sought out and held with MPs from all parties during the budget debate. Harrison did not respond to repeated questions Saturday and Sunday as to whether Scheer has an opinion on whether SNC should be allowed to avoid criminal trial through DPA. The question is more than academic. If Scheer and the Conservatives form government after the October election, they are likely to inherit the question of whether SNC Lavalin should face its criminal charge and be banned from federal contracts for a decade if found guilty, or be allowed to cut a deal with prosecutors, and face fines and corporate reforms. Lobbying records show Bruce also met with Dean Allison, the Conservatives' international trade critic, twice in April 2018, and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh and New Democratic MP Pierre-Luc Dussault in May of 2018. I scroll down just a little bit. Opposition MPs have been calling for an investigation into allegations first reported by the Globe and Mail that members of Prime Minister's office pressured former Justice Minister Jody Wilson-Raybould to push for a deal for SNC Lavalin. Trudeau and the Liberals have denied the allegation. Wilson-Raybould, now the Veterans Affairs Minister, has refused to comment. Okay, so let me clear up the bouncing ball. 2001 to 2011, specifically 2009 to 2011 after Mr. Gaddafi fell. But before that, I suppose SNC Lavalin was close to Gaddafi, and they were using that relationship to have ties and contracts in both Libya and Canada. And then they got caught and put on the corruption list. And still, though, from after people knowing about this in 2011, they were allowed to continue to lobby Canada and get Canadian government contracts. And in fact, in 2015, the Liberals signed a paper or signed a document saying that, yeah, while you're under investigation, no problem, you can still get government contracts because it's probably going to go away. And the reason it's going to go away is because in the 2018 budget, the Liberals slipped in this DPA amendment, which allows for companies to basically buy their way out of legal trouble. Oh yeah, we'll fire those guys, and here's that penalty we agreed that I'd pay. Right, here it is, and maybe it'll make its way to your coffers, who knows? Or it'll go to the victims of crime or something ridiculous. Here's Andrew Scheer tweeting, and I'll show you the whole letter in just a second. We'll read it. Andrew Scheer says, Justin Trudeau must waive privilege in the SNC Lavalin affair. And this morning, I called on him to do so. This is one of two. Canadians deserve answers as the allegations surrounding this, quote, matter strike at the very heart of fair and impartial law enforcement and prosecutorial functions. If Trudeau doesn't meet this obligation, Canadians can only conclude that there is something he wishes to keep hidden. And here's the whole letter, and I will read it, and I'm going to zoom in because it's a little dark. Dear Prime Minister, media reports have revealed very troubling allegations with response to possible interference by your office in a criminal prosecution of SNC Lavalin. On February 8th, 2019, former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould stated, quote, as the former Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, I am bound by solicitor-client privilege in this matter. This statement is telling in two ways. First, it confirms that the former Attorney General is of the view that there is indeed a matter related to the criminal prosecution of SNC Lavalin on which she provided legal advice to a client. Second, and more importantly, as the Attorney General has only one client, the government, with you as its head, you and or your staff members acting at your behest are the clients to whom the duties of solicitor-client privilege are confidentiality are owed. As you well know, any client may choose to waive his or her rights to solicitor-client privilege or confidentiality. In this case, Prime Minister, you are in a position to waive the duties owed to you by the former Attorney General of Canada. Canadians deserve answers on this matter as the allegations surrounding it strike at the very heart of fair and impartial law enforcement, and prosecutorial functions, themselves vital to the rule of law and to our democracy. Therefore, I call on you to immediately waive the solicitor-client privilege in respect of any advice given to you or your staff in relation to the prosecution of SNC Lavalin. Additionally, I call on you to also waive any and all rights to confidentiality in respect of communications to or from yourself from any member of your staff, previous or current, in relation to the prosecution of SNC Lavalin. And there's a second page to the letter. Hold on. Ooh, it's not scrolled in. Solicitor-client privilege and the duty of confidentiality are important values in our legal systems, but in the present situation, they must be subordinate to the higher value. They must be subordinate to a higher value, the confidence of Canadians in the integrity, fairness, and impartiality of our criminal justice system. You have a duty to restore this confidence through transparency, honesty, and a full accounting for your actions and those of your staff. If you do not meet this obligation, Canadians can only conclude that there is something you wish to keep hidden. I would note that Prime Minister Stephen Harper waived solicitor-client privilege to cooperate with the investigation of Senator Mike Duffy and waived cabinet confidence in relation to the trial of Vice Admiral Mark Norman, and that Prime Minister Paul Martin waived cabinet confidence to cooperate with the Gomery Commission. It is fundamentally important that judicial processing be allowed to proceed free from the cloud of scandal and accusation. I hope that you will fulfill your duty to Canadians and bring clarity to this matter immediately. Sincerely, the Honourable Andrew Scheer, Leader of the Opposition. So, everyone is weighing in on the SNC Lavalin. Andrew Scheer, Maxime Bernier, Conservative MPs, Lisa Raitt, NDP MPs, Nathan Cullen, everybody's weighing in. And it's incredible, really, the layers upon layers of people who are fed up with this government, from MPs, from sitting MPs in the Liberal caucus even. Well, we've had one cross the floor. Only one, which is surprising, isn't it? So it's an interesting day. I was going to get into some other connections, but I think I'm going to leave it here because it gets convoluted, and it's the reason that I've only put one video out today. I've been researching, and yeah, I'll leave it for another video. So thank you very much for watching. Personally, my favorite response to this so far has been Mr. Bernier's, his unequivocal statement that my position is clear, no one is above the law, no special deal for big corporate criminals. I will repeal the DPA clause adopted by the Liberals, and I will clean up the corruption in Ottawa. Yeah, that's the kind of response I'm looking for, and calling this what it is, corruption, is necessary in my opinion. I also don't mind the letter Mr. Scheer wrote. However, I don't know if he could do more. I don't know if he's stymied by his position as the official opposition, if he could call Mr. Trudeau corrupt, or if he needs to wait for a response. I'm very frustrated with the level of decorum when this Prime Minister is so clearly not interested in following rule of law. He's replaced an Attorney General after pressuring an Attorney General, and then the new Attorney General is just fine with it. He doesn't see any problem. So it's all of this is a huge scandal. It's massive, and to be able to put it into a little bite-sized chunk is really difficult, especially because there are so many moving parts. Like Andrew Scheer and the leader of the NDP meeting with the SNC Lavalin people. Is that insidious because they met with them? Or is it insidious because they haven't come out with a statement saying unequivocally they'll remove the DPA clause inserted by the Liberals in 2018 in the budget, and that SNC Lavalin will have Miss Rabel's decision, or maybe a third-party impartial decision, because it's been so politicized. Same with the Huawei thing. It needs to be, the current politicized AG needs to recuse himself, because Trudeau himself has politicized this whole process, from Huawei to SNC Lavalin to the Prime Minister's office. And I understand the Prime Minister's office is political in function, but he's sticking his nose in to the AG, which is supposed to be independent of the Prime Minister's office. And yeah, it's not legal. It's not within the rules. He's not allowed to do that. And yes, this is a good letter. it doesn't go far enough, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. And this scandal is just getting going. It's Sunday night. Like and if there's more to this, if the privilege isn't waived and Jody Wilson-Raybould remains silent and the Liberals just try and run the clock, I think that's their strategy, because anything else gets them caught, and I think they know it. So there's going to be lots of smoke and fire, but there's not going to be a whole lot of anything happening. So maybe just smoke, no fire. Lots of thunder, no lightning, right? Lots of something happening, but nobody's going to see it. I don't know. It could go either way. So we'll see. Stay tuned, and I'll see if I can get the rest of this story together and show you what I've found, because there's so many connections, but it's not quite ready. It's not quite ready. So thanks for watching, everybody. Sorry, only one video today. Have a wonderful evening, and thanks for watching. Check out the People's Party of Canada.ca.